So 20 years ago, I started with $3,000 and I turned it into $1 million. And today people on the internet say, Kris, that's not possible. You couldn't do that all over again. You know what? Maybe I couldn't, but this dude did. Guys, this is Carson, and he didn't start with $3,000 to turn it into $1 million. He started with $9,000 and...
Yeah, I've pretty much followed your same blueprint, Kris, just a generation later, and it's created some incredible results.
Guys, this is his story.
One shot, now the future is yours. Go!
So it's crazy, but on a pretty regular basis, I get hate, negative comments, trolls that are just like, oh man, like, yeah, dude, what a fluke. Like, you couldn't do that. But here you are, you, like many of my students, have actually done it.
Yeah, well, you know, Kris, from the day I started as your videographer and heard you preach about real estate and talking about the power of it, I was like, man, I think I want a basement apartment. Like, that makes so much sense to have someone else helping pay for that each month.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, you know, you remember Kris used to work with us?
Yeah.
When I told him I wanted to get a basement apartment in Utah, and I told him what my price range was that I could get a loan for, he was like, yeah, you probably aren't able to do that.
Right.
And it's funny that that's like the mindset of most people. Because something is unlikely, we interpret it as impossible.
So it's really weird. I look at my journey. I have realtors that along the way said, you can't do that. You can't get those good deals. Loan officers said, you probably can't do that. We can't swing that. We can't make that happen. Like, being a successful real estate investor starts with understanding that you live in a world with doubters and naysayers that just say it's not possible.
Well, and the thing is, the naysayers say that because most of the time you can't. But I don't want to be in most of the time. I want that one opportunity where Tyler Bennett's like, hey, I got a house. I think you could buy it from me.
Yeah.
Did you know it has a basement apartment? And I was like, oh my gosh, this is godsend. This is like exactly what I was looking for. But if I hadn't been looking for it, and I ever settled, everyone never would have found it. So yeah, unlike you, I had to save up $9,000. Half of that came from, you know, a good windfall with the tax return one year, and then just penny pinching, man. Just being careful with spending and recognizing that getting into a house, a primary residence, was gonna be like the very first step to starting my real estate game plan. Like that 0 to 1% down.
Yep.
Huge benefit.
My wife and I, we actually gave it a name. We called it Cleanse Parents Penny Pinching Month, because her parents had this like this impossible story of not enough money.
Yeah.
And this idea of like, what are we gonna have to do? And my wife and I had a budget of $20 a month for fun. Everything went into savings for a down payment on basically getting this house.
Yep. And see, I'm fortunate. My wife is very budget conscious and a saver, and so that being paired up with kind of your system, really powerful for us to save up money enough to get into a house.
Well, dude, here's what's going down today. We're here in studio, so we're going to break down your entire story and share with everyone exactly how you did it, because you started the exact same way, and he got to his first million. This is how you do it. Dude, let's have this conversation, because really taking $9,000 and turning into $1 million, or whether I took $3,300 and turned it into $1 million, the reality is it's a small amount of money, it's a manageable amount of money, and it happens in 3 major steps. You've got to be able to find the right kind of deal to start with, you've got to fund it, and then ultimately you've got to figure out how to exit it and turn it into money so that ultimately it turns into $1 million. That's what we're going to be jamming on today.
Now, when you found your house, you did like the driving for dollars.
I didn't even mean to. Like, I had spent 14 months getting ready. I had basically saved up $5,000. That's what my mentor said I needed to do. He said also I needed to have 2 years of work history. So I just got that. And he also said that I needed to have like at least 3 credit cards. I had 1 a year earlier, so I got a couple more. So I had spent 14 months just basically getting ready. And then on a really weird day, like, it was weird. The day that I hit all 3 of those criteria, I had this feeling that I should just drive home a different way. So it's not like I was even looking for a deal. I actually was just following inspiration. I did something very non-typical. Driving home a long circuitous route didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And it was a weird day on top of that, because it was like May, the sun was out, blue sky, and it was snowing sideways. Like typical weird Utah weather. And right when it started snowing, I passed a home on the other side of the street, which was for sale by owner. And something just clicked, and I'm like, this is it. And I did a U-turn, pulled right in front of the house, and the sign said, house for $110,000 for sale by owner. And I knew enough about real estate to know, like, this house is worth way more than that. And it was kind of actually weird, dude. I went up and I knocked on the door. I was like, my feet took me to the front door. I was like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. My mentor's not here. And before I knew it, I even knocked on the door. And that's when I freaked out because I heard someone coming to the door. And
you're like, I'm gonna have to open my mouth and say something.
And I said something stupid.
Yeah.
This grouchy woman, she comes to the door and she says, what do you want? And I said, well, I want to buy your house. And I made an offer on the spot. I didn't say, hi, my name is Kris. What's your name? Can you tell me about the house? How many bedrooms and bathrooms does it have? I literally just said, I want to buy your house for $110,000. And she slammed the door in my face. Kid you not. That's how this deal went down.
That's so funny. So I do think there's a principle in the world that if you are seeking something, you tend to start finding it. And the longer you are seeking for it, the more chances you have of finding it.
Yeah.
I learned a different lesson though with my first deal, and that was the power of a network. Robert Kiyosaki talks about your power team.
Yeah.
It's like you need people to go to for these things.
Yeah.
And because I'd been working with you, I got put in touch with Tyler. I was working with Brandon, and we were out there shopping for primary residences. And I knew I wanted a house with a basement apartment, and I was having trouble finding them. So I went to Tyler and I was like, dude, how can I search better? And he was like, I got a house I'll sell you. And I was like, this is too good to be true.
Yeah.
Like, really? And he's like, yeah, it has a basement apartment. So I don't know how you feel about that. And I was like, how I feel about that? That's what I've been searching for. And that's the problem with these other houses.
Yeah.
And what I learned was that as soon as I surrounded myself with other people that had similar goals, were in the real estate industry. So, and I learned this powerful lesson that I don't have to be the genius. I don't have to be the know-it-all because I'm surrounded by people that do. And to this day, Kris, like, I'm not a real estate genius. I don't know tons about it. I have questions I hit you up, I hit Tyler up, ask questions all the time. But because I have access to the people, it just bridges that gap.
So I think this is the first really important lesson that you want to be aware of in both my story, in Carson's story, and your story, is that you have to be connected to the individuals that are committed to helping you find a really good deal. Because in my world, I buy real estate almost every single day, but I have a team that does all that for me.
And most people think of real estate and it's like touching granite and looking at like architectural plans. Real estate's a people business. It's more about who than it is what.
Hey, sorry to pause the video, but this is too important not to share. Me and my team are offering free financial game plan calls to help you get a break from the grind, stop wasting time on single-digit returns, and start building real passive income through smart real estate investing. I'm basically gonna put myself in your shoes and say, what would I do if I were you to get where you wanna go quicker so you can also have more time to live the life that you feel called to. Click the link below, book your free call today, because I want you to live wealthy and live balanced.
Okay, Kris, so when you were shopping for your first deal, how did you know it was the one?
All right, so there's a couple of things that made this deal really attractive, because if you buy the wrong house, you're gonna have to wait for it to appreciate for years before you can leverage that equity and go faster. I was able to go faster out the gate because number one, the house was worth $150,000 and they bought it for $110,000. That meant that only 12 months later, I was able to go back to the bank and say, hey, I want a line of credit. I want to pull the equity out and use it to buy another house. The second thing that made it really attractive is it had a basement apartment. And that basement apartment rented for almost enough money to cover the whole mortgage, which meant that my wife and I were living in the house basically for free. And so going from throwing rent money away to now buying a house and living in it for free and having the nicer 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom upstairs for us, and someone taking the 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom below and basically covering the mortgage, that's when, even for my wife, that's when like the light bulb went on and she started realizing buying one house meant that we lived for free. When we used the equity to buy the second house, that house leased out, had a $600 a month positive cash flow. And again, that's when my wife was like, wait a second, I think real estate is smart. We're living for free. We have $600 a month coming in on this other rental. And that's when she came to me and said, we need to do this again. Yeah. So that's what made this house super attractive.
And part of your story, Kris, the part that seems miraculous today is that your rent on a basement apartment would cover the mortgage of the entire house. Because I wasn't in that situation. And I've seen comments from people on YouTube that are like, you can't do that today. Yeah. And it is harder. And we're in Utah. And that's something that's so critical to understand is you got to know your market, the market that you're in. A bottle of water costs $5 at the airport or $1 at the dollar store. Yeah. Right? Like location is more important than anything else. And in Utah, it's just insane. But I will say having a basement apartment changed everything for me because it meant over half of my mortgage was covered by someone else.
Yeah.
And if you just think about that, two things. I have ownership, meaning all the appreciation that the house is getting, I benefit from. Every dollar I put into the house, I'm gonna get back when I sell. So there's that appreciation, but then someone else covering half the mortgage, dude, that's like subsidizing my living. And I still was able to save so much more, even though it didn't cover the entire mortgage. Dude, it enabled me to save up to be doing future deals.
All right, let's move on to the second step in taking a small amount of money and turning it into $1 million. For both of us, it came down to funding the deal. And I had two banks that basically said, we're not going to give you the loan after I got the house under contract.
Really?
That was super nerve-wracking to be turned down. And it was weird because—
Can I ask why? What didn't they like? Was your debt to income off or what?
I think it's just important, first of all, to note that not all banks are created equal.
Yeah.
And when one bank says no, another bank can have a program for saying yes.
I've run into this so many times in my life where I have family members who try and do something really interesting, or like my parents were trying to sell their house and they got told by one realtor, it's probably not going to sell for what you want it. And they're like, oh, game over, we're done. We're never going to try it. One opinion, you gotta keep searching for additional options.
Well, it's the other way around. It's just like you only need one yes, to
yep.
make everything work. You only need to find one really good deal to have it coalesce and turn into $1 million.
Yep.
So it was the third bank that finally said yes. I got the financing. It was a 3% down payment. So I needed $3,300. Your situation was a little different. You needed $9,000.
Well, because the market had changed. Yeah, getting a house that had a basement apartment, the price point had gone up. This was in 2016. And we've seen this to this day. Like, the reason we're buying real estate is because it continues to appreciate, which means the best time to buy a house is 30 years ago.
Yep.
Second best time is now. So yeah, I need a little bit more cash. Fortunately, every year there's tax season and most people get some sort of a tax return, especially if you have a W-2. And what do they do with that tax return? What do most people do when they
take
get
a trip?
Yeah,
they blow it on something.
They blow it on something, Disneyland or something. We chose to not do that, and we were like, we're gonna save that. And it was a huge windfall for us where we're suddenly like, we have money that we could do something with. And then we saved a little bit on top of that to get up to 9,000, and then we were able to work the deal from there.
So it was a 3% down payment.
Yeah.
So you got the house for $300,000.
280.
Was that Tyler Bennett's house that he was in? Dude, that was a sick house.
Yes.
How did he sell it to you for $280,000?
He lords that over me to this day, where he's like, you got your start because I gave you a freaking good deal on that house.
Shame on him though for having done so many deals.
Do you know how you get freaking good deals?
Oh my gosh.
You know people. Tyler was incentivized to see my success.
Yeah.
And so he reached down and helped out the little guy.
Because I know his house. I've been to his house. That's a sweet house.
That's where Amara started, was in the
How many years were you in that house?
3.5. Which, by the way, is a huge lesson for me. Like, your primary residence can be the biggest catapult to get into real estate because the government incentivizes people to buy their primary residence. They want people to buy homes. I didn't have to pay capital gains when I sold that house.
Yeah.
Because I had lived in it for 3 years as a primary residence.
If you live in a house for 2 of at least the last 5 years, you don't have to pay capital gains, which means the capital gains are, you bought the house for around $280,000. The house went up and you ended up selling it for how much?
I'd have to dig back and see. I know that I walked away with $190,000 after we paid back the mortgage.
So you sold the house for about $500,000.
Yeah. Yep.
And you made $190,000.
Yes. And it was insane because a huge chunk of that would have gone to capital gains, except that it was a primary residence. And the reason that the ROI is so huge on that is because I put so little down because I was a first-time home buyer.
So I want you to—
Don't waste your first-time home buying privileges. Like, there's a lot of options.
This third phase is, how do you exit? So because I bought the house for $110,000, my house was worth $150,000, $40,000 more, but I ended up selling it for $165,000.
Yeah.
Right? So if you look at putting $3,300 down, and by the time I sold it, I made like $65,000 on it. When you look at the ratio of $3,000 to $65,000 gain is crazy. Similar in your situation, it was $9,000 down, but it was $190,000 gain. And for both of us, it happened in a very short period of time, under 5 years, and we didn't have to pay capital gains on it. And you use that money, I think, the way I use my money. This is the important part of how you get to $1 million.
There's another YouTube video you can check out. We'll put it in the description where you can go see. Kris interviewed me the day that I closed on selling that house, and I was in tears because I could not believe what had happened over the course of 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And I had this lump sum. And do you remember what you told me? I had 190
I told you,
in the bank
I
account.
remember telling you, whatever you do.
I was so surprised at how you came at me, man.
I was like, do not blow your shot. Do not waste this on stuff.
Yes.
Don't pay off student loan
You
debts.
said to me, you were like, if you pay off student loans with this, I'm gonna smack you upside the head. You will be tempted to pay off student loans. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Roll it forward into more real estate.
And what did you do?
That's what we've done.
Yeah.
Rolled it into more real estate. Own, multiple doors now. Working on building our dream house at this point.
Your dream house you're building is valued at what?
1.3.
1.3 million. So here's the take-home lesson from today's video. First of all, you have to start with an intention of, I want to become a real estate investor. And both of us house hacked. We said, cool, easiest way to become an investor is not putting a 20% down payment on a house I don't live in. That requires $50,000 to $100,000. Instead for us, it was a 3% down payment. In today's market, if you buy a house 30% below the median, just like Carson, your down payment is gonna be around $9,000. So this is relevant, updated information today. And so have a goal, save the money, and then get your house, and then get yourself into a house that makes sense. In this house hack, we're talking about getting a good deal, being, in both of our case, it was subsidizing the mortgage by having someone else help rent it. You could do something just as easy as also like renting out a couple of private rooms and having roommates pay for those for sure. If you're single and you're not married, it's like, hey, I got a 4-bedroom house and I'm going to rent out 3 private rooms at $500, $700, $800 a piece. And all of a sudden, wow, they're either subsidizing my mortgage or they might be paying the majority of that mortgage. The second step, go to the bank and get traditional financing, which means keep your credit good. It's pretty common to put 3% down, get a house, have a job for a couple years. You can build that into your plan. And the third step is on exit. When you make your money, don't blow it. And do not just roll it into your next house, roll it into a number of investment properties.
Here's the catch. Everybody wants to know, this story sounds too good to be true. And the truth is that you and I sacrifice some things that most people don't want to sacrifice.
Yeah.
And that's the reason that they don't do this when they buy a primary residence. I currently still have a basement apartment. My wife and I have shared walls with another household, with another family, our entire marriage, the past 16 years.
Yeah.
That is a huge sacrifice. And I've talked to friends that are like, yeah, I'm not willing to do that, man. Having to share walls and worry about it when your kid jumps off the couch and be like, oh, the tenants downstairs are hating it. They don't want to make that sacrifice. And if you're not willing to delay gratification,
Yeah.
that's the key to building wealth, is if you can hold on to things now and make sacrifices now, down the road you get these huge benefits. But you can't expect to have those benefits if you're not willing to make those same sacrifices.
Well, and for me, my big sacrifice was the second house I bought was a lot newer. It was a lot nicer. I bought that house $90,000 below market. My wife and I could have lived in that home and it would have been better for us, but instead we wanted more cash flow.
You chose not to live in it, didn't you?
We
So
chose.
your tenants were living it up.
My tenants were living in a way nicer house than my wife and I were living in.
And the average person would have looked at the situation and been like, oh, I'd have taken this tenant situation over Chris's, and yet you had delayed gratification.
But here's why.
Propelled you forward.
Here's why. I ended up taking some equity out of that house and using it to buy another house.
Yeah.
And if I had been living in it, would I have made that choice? Well, that's the problem, is that a lot of people, when they're focusing on receiving all the gains and benefits of their wealth today, then by getting all of the benefit, you consume it instead of multiplying it by having many, many houses, not just one house for you and your family. For me, by the time I graduated college, I was 26 years old and I had 25 rentals. And it was all because that first rental, I rolled the equity into a second house. I took the equity in the second house, I rolled it into a third house. I took the equity from a third house, I rolled it into a fourth house. And I did that until I had 25 homes. Those 25 homes made me worth $1.6 million, gave me a residual income of $12,000 a month. And graduating from college, I didn't have to get a job in the workforce. Essentially, my investments were paying for everything. In your situation, you were able to take your gains, you turned it into multiple doors, and now you're actually building your dream house like I did.
And I mean, on paper, net worth, I'm technically over $1 million in my net worth. I don't necessarily have that liquid, but it's just a matter of time now that as I keep rolling this forward to do the exact same thing, which for me, the biggest thing was having my eyes opened to what I could do by hearing you do so many game plans with people where you look at their situation and say, here's what I would do different. Here's what I
would do different. Here's what I would sacrifice to have money later. And I just soaked that up and started doing it. Like the game plans you give, Kris, approach financial success different than how most people think about it.
And here's my question for you. Would you like to have a multi-millionaire's perspective and financial game plan of what I would do if I was in your shoes?
I'm raising my hand.
Yeah.
I'm raising my hand.
Well, you already did that, bro.
I know, but I continue to do it.
And if you'd like to get a personal game plan for free at no cost, click the link below. All you have to do is drop your name, contact information, and me and my team will reach out and basically say, hey, if I woke up today in your shoes, woke up with good credit or bad credit, or with your current paying job, or if I woke up with money in my savings account or not, a 401k or not, even dead broke like how I got started, if you want to know what I would do in your shoes to help you get to millionaire status as quickly as possible, click that link below, fill out the contact information, and let's show you how.
Kris, do you remember when you took me around in a limo to show me all the different houses you bought in Provo?
I do.
It was incredibly eye-opening for me to see the progress you went through, because everybody sees you today and they're like, he's the guy. He's rich, he's buff, he looks like that. And it was cool to see your grassroots story. If you guys want to catch that video, check it out.
It's right here.